Hey adventurers, today is going to be a review for The Farthest Shore by Ursula K. Guin. This is book 3 in the Earthsea Cycle, and yeah, let's get right into it. So of course this is a fantasy and a high fantasy story, ocean fantasy, dragon fantasy, so many different genres that it fits into, of course. I really like this series. It's not like instantly my favorite, but there's a lot of things that I really love about this series. Earthsea isn't epic in the same way as Lord of the Rings or Stormlight Archives, but it is epic in its own ways. The books are smaller and are much more self-contained stories, but each one is incredible, and this one was no different. The world is so different and fun, having it be a bunch of islands and not really a mainland, and then the story travels between many of the different islands. It's just a super unique way to tell a story, and it works really well for this series. The characters are not perfect. They make mistakes, they have doubts, and they don't really trust each other completely, and that's of course realistic, and I really enjoy that. This allows for conflict between them that doesn't feel forced, and any resolution feels earned. So basically throughout this whole book you're following two characters, and they don't really trust each other, but they do, and they kind of have to in order to survive, for this adventure to succeed and all that kind of stuff. So they don't really trust each other, but throughout the story they learn to trust each other, and they decide, okay, I'm going to trust him because this is the best option that I've got right now. So I really appreciated that as well. It's a great world with lots of interesting things, including dragons, so of course I'm interested. The magic system is unique, but manages to maintain that wonder and whimsy of softer magic systems while still having clear defined rules. I don't completely understand the magic system for this series. I think I could with a little bit of research and more paying attention, especially if I were to read the books physically. I've been listening to them on audiobook, and it's phenomenal. I love the audiobooks for them. But I think that if I were to read them physically, I'd be able to get a better grasp of how the magic system works. What I do know is that it has to do with naming, which is a very interesting magic system and a very interesting way of using magic, and I really appreciate it and really like it. It's one of the more common magic systems for sure, but not as common as something like elemental magic or something like that. And I do really appreciate it when I see it and when it's done well, and most of the time it's a unique enough magic system that it's really hard to do. I don't want to say it's really hard to do right, but it's unique enough that it feels new and different in each story that you read it in. One of the aspects of this book that I really liked was that it used events from earlier books as catalysts for things that happen in this one. The consequences of actions are long-lasting. So that's one of the themes in this book, is that consequences of actions are long-lasting. Things that you do will affect things in the future, whether immediately in the future or sometime off in the future. So mainly what I saw it is events from book 1 are now playing out, and the consequences of them are playing out in book 3, and I really appreciate that, and how it's tying together and how it's making sense of this world, and it's done really well. So there's strong themes. Of course, I already mentioned the consequences of actions are long-lasting. I already mentioned that one. But there's also, one of them can be summed up in this quote, which is, "Only one thing in the world can resist an evil-hearted man, and that is another man." So that quote, like I said, it sums up one of the themes of that book, and that theme I really appreciate seeing, and it's one that a lot of people don't understand. And that makes me sad, and that makes me frustrated that a lot of people don't understand this theme, but it's true, and it's unfortunate that it is, but it is. And so yeah, I really like that theme. Another random thing when talking about dragons, they're forces of nature, not good or evil. They simply are what they are, and I really appreciate that. There's a quote that is about the dragons that says, "They do not do, they are," which of course harkens back to do or not, do not, there is no try from Yoda, but it also is in many ways harkens back to the Bible and Jesus or God when he says of himself, "I am." And they're not trying to say, at least it doesn't seem to me like Ursula K. Guin was trying to say that the dragons are like God, but that force of nature. I really appreciate seeing force of nature type characters, and for some reason it really works well with this book, and it really works well about dragons. This is a really enjoyable series, slower than many, but not because it is boring or has lack of action or a good plot. That's not why it's slow. The writing style is phenomenal. It is a higher tier of writing than many authors have, and it is similar to Tolkien in the way that the descriptions and exposition serve to build the world and flesh it out and flesh out the story, but feels very natural. So you feel like you're in the world. You feel like this is real, not like it is the imagination of somebody else. So I really appreciate that. Of course, Tolkien's my favorite author, but I really appreciate that and seeing that in other books like Ursula K. Le Guin's Earthsea Cycle. So that is my review for The Farthest Shore by Ursula K. Le Guin. I'm really looking forward to reading more of this series. Thank you guys for watching an Erudite adventure. We post videos every Monday, and we have our social medias linked in the description down below. We'll see you guys again soon. Stay warm.